Well, it didn't get dressed up for nothing.
Before we get started, does anyone want to get out?
Hello, and welcome to You Gotta See This, Man, the podcast where two friends recommend movies to each other. I'm Troy, and my alien spider rock partner is Zach Alchokati. Hey, Zach. Excellent impression. Yeah. Everybody, we are in between seasons right now. We have wrapped up season 2. We've been celebrating that for quite some time now. Zach and I, just this evening, have put together our set list for season 3. You're gonna have to wait to hear that, but we're coming at you with some bonus material right now. We're going to do one of those episodes where we look at a recent release for the masses who are just wondering, what are Zach and Troy thinking about this? So Zach, today we have an exciting, this one some people are saying is going to save movies. We are going to be talking about Project Hail Mary.
Please state your name.
Ryland Grace. I just woke up from a coma. I'm several light years from my apartment. And I'm not an astronaut. I'm not an astronaut. I'm not an astronaut.
If you don't go, you die. With the rest of us. The sun is dying. You are the only scientist who might know what this says.
I'm just a teacher at Grover Cleveland Middle.
You have a doctorate in molecular biology. I need you to come with us. This is Project Hail Mary. The sun is not the only star dying. Every star was infected by its neighbor, except one.
Why?
We don't know.
Which is why we built a ship to go there and find out.
It's 11.9 light years away. The astronauts die in space.
It's what you Americans would call a long shot.
Hail Mary. I get it. Who on earth is going to sign up for this?
If we do nothing, everything on this planet will go extinct.
You'll find a solution.
You are my solution.
I put the not in astronaut. I've never done anything. I've never done a space. I can't even moonwalk. I understand the stakes. I do. My place is in the classroom.
The world is counting on you.
This might be very hard for you to understand. But some people are not good at things.
You know who you are. You're gonna do great.
I conquered zero G in 5 hours. Yeah!
Object approaching.
Oh my God. So I met an alien. He's kind of growing on me. At least he's not growing in me, you know, which was a concern for a little while. I'm Grace. I'm gonna call you Rocky. Thumbs up. Nope, that's thumbs down. We do the thumbs up. It's close enough.
So Zach, the synopsis for Project Hail Mary is a science teacher wakes up alone on a spaceship. As his memory returns, he uncovers a mission to stop a mysterious substance killing Earth's sun, and that an unexpected friendship may be the key. All right, Zach, so you've seen Project Hail Mary, I've seen Project Hail Mary, and it's time to discuss, man. So let's just jump straight out of the gate here and just show our cards. What was your star rating for Project Hail Mary?
I was blown away by it. I loved it. I gave it 5 stars. It's everything I want in a movie to get me in the theater and just losing myself in it. So 5 stars.
Yeah, yeah, knocked your socks off.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so far your favorite movie of the year, would you say, of the movie year 2026?
I haven't looked at the list lately, but I think it is. It's
Yeah.
probably my favorite.
I'm gonna say, man, 2026 so far has been kind of weak sauce. Like there's been a few months where I've been like, man, there's just not a lot coming out. I
That
think that's going to change.
that
I
that
still
week.
have faith, but yeah. So my star review, I gave it 3 stars. So I get to play the like contrarian who
Mm,
like actually liked the movie, but I'm gonna be the one who's like I didn't like it as much as Zach. So I'm gonna sound like I don't like this movie, but I actually enjoyed my movie watching experience with Project Hail Mary. So. I think one thing we can agree upon, though, is that this is a great movie to see in a theater. I am totally on board that if you get a chance to watch this movie in a movie theater, you should take advantage.
I agree, and I will actually be taking my mother to see it next week when I'm in Memphis, um,
Oh,
because she is excited to see it. She had bought the book and was looking forward to reading that as well, but she was anxious to get out and see it because it will be a great experience.
yeah, dude. I think you should always watch the movie before the book. That's my opinion on things.
May I make a quick comment?
Please, please do.
You used a word in your introduction of this
Ooh, okay.
film that was part of the synopsis. I think you find that on IMDb.
Yeah, I
Um,
do. Yeah.
yeah. And you quickly led into your us giving a star rating, the 5 and 3 stars. Let's keep that in mind.
Let's keep that on the record.
You said a word that triggered a former movie that we actually discussed. Um,
Okay.
and you gave this movie 4 stars.
Okay.
And that movie was Friendship.
Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah.
If I may sit in the contrarian chair for just a moment,
Okay. Yeah, I guess yeah, we should probably flip it.
you gave Friendship 4 stars and Project Hail
And
Mary three
and
stars.
yeah, yeah,
That
yeah.
sounds, I don't know, man. I mean, I get it. Each
You
individual movie
can't
is like its
imagine a
own thing.
universe.
Yeah. I'm trying to wrap up my mind around our 30 something years of friendship. Yeah, man, it's just magical that we still don't know everything about each other.
Yeah,
Because
dude. So many
now,
mysteries to
yeah, so
life.
now I have to reconcile the differences of like, where we are, where we've been,
How could you, yeah,
you know.
how could you possibly? Yeah. This is great though. I feel like if friendship can continue to just come up in every movie conversation we have, there's just more
Absolutely.
of a either you're gonna hate it more or eventually you're just gonna come around to like appreciating it.
Yeah. I think it's strengthening the divide. Uh,
Yeah. I mean, okay. To seriously answer your question here though, I feel like I think that the reason that I rated or that I continue to rate Friendship higher than Project Hail Mary is because for me, Project Hail Mary was more conventional.
okay.
And there were just bigger swings in Friendship. It was quirkier, and I felt like it was it, and it's why I also understand that like it's not going to be everybody's bag either. Is that it was going for some things that are going to resonate deeply with some people and not deeply with other
Fair.
people. And I think Project Hail Mary is more of a like skimming a larger surface, but not going as deep.
Huh. Okay. All right.
So like I think that it's got broader appeal, and I found that entertaining, but it wasn't going to the depths that friendship went for
Hmm.
me. I don't know, that may
Okay.
sound weird to some people too.
Okay. All right. I mean, I do somewhat disagree, but to really lean
Yeah.
into Project Hail Mary, so we don't
Yeah.
just dominate the discussion with friendship.
Let's go
Um,
back. What was friendship about?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
no.
Let's
Let's
actually just
we're here for
yeah.
Project Hail Mary.
Yeah, yeah. So how about this? Typically, in a movie like, discussion, you're talking about like what you really loved about the movie. So
Mm,
let's
mm,
actually start in the reverse from your
mm.
side on because you did touch on it a little bit about what you feel like it's lacking is that it was kind of skimming on the surface
Yeah.
versus like really taking deep dives. So tell me what kind of dig in a little bit, like what didn't work for this movie, and then we'll go into like because obviously I'm going to praise a lot of it. So this
Yeah.
this is actually a good like unintended consequence of bringing up that other discussion. So,
Yeah, right.
uh, but it I think it leads into an interesting take on the movie. So tell me what didn't work.
I think it is I think it's trying to do a few different things. And the and so it's hard because like some of these things that I think detract from it are also things that I think are done well. So like I think Gosling's performance is like how can you not like Ryan Gosling, right? Like
Right.
he's charming. He can be like a lead and he can also be comedic relief. Like he just has the full package. But I think that like anytime we get sort of close to something that feels like we may go to some deeper depths where we may go into some darkness. Um, we end up with like a joke, or we end up with uh, a quip and that sort of thing. It just like pulls you back out of that. And I think that like I found that because it was like such a story that's been told before that I never felt worried about any of the characters in it, even though the stakes get pretty high for them and they're in some dangerous situations.
Hmm.
I never had any doubt that they were going to be okay. And I guess this is where I probably should have given like a spoiler alert on this. But it's been well established we're a spoiler podcast. So but I was never I never felt I never felt that. I never, there were times where like there were um really funny moments that I found amusing, but I wasn't laughing as hard as the rest of the crowd in the movie theater. And there were times that I think were supposed to be pretty emotionally gripping that I was impressed by, but I wasn't like feeling the feels, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So I think a lot of, some of this comes down to personal taste, but I also just I felt like it had some opportunities to go some places and it just kind of backed away from those and went more for the more entertaining aspect of that. Which I don't like hold against it either because I think this movie is supposed to be entertaining.
Right. So do you think the filmmakers leaned into like how do we make this the feel good blockbuster of the year
Yeah.
too
Yeah,
much?
right. Right, right. Yeah, yeah, I think that's fair.
Which is interesting because it's apparently like this is one of the closest movie adaptations on a scale of a book that covers so much territory that this is one of the closest moody movie adaptations um, on this level that there's ever been.
Yeah. Hmm.
That there are some key things that were left out or only touched on a little bit in the movie,
Yeah.
um, but that this was for as much information as conveyed in the book that this is very close to
Hmm.
what was taking place. So,
Interesting.
which I kind of feel like I do feel like it was going for being more approachable to a wider audience.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think you can't, I don't think any filmmaker that is especially making a movie on this level, that it's got to be in their mind that, like, movies aren't what they used to be, in the fact that they're not making the money that they used to make. You know what I'm saying? They're not held in the same regard in a lot of ways. And I think what this movie does well, and I think what the filmmakers, whether intended or not, was this was a message of hope. This was
Yeah.
sending the disc out into space in hopes that aliens will see it and listen to it and know that we're not just trash lower beings,
Right.
and that they'll
Right.
see the beauty of humanity. And I think that, yes, I do believe that on a certain level, the leaning into the feel good aspect of it makes it a more popcorn movie than like the deepest of, you know, dives.
Yeah.
But I
Right.
feel like I do disagree, because I feel like it does take some, I think there are real stakes. I do kind of feel like, well, he's going to succeed on some level, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but I feel like say that it leaned in to real stakes and Rocky dies.
Yeah.
Okay. The first thing
And
people would
Rocky is his alien friend,
right,
just
right.
for, yeah.
The first thing people would do, especially if he like was to die and then was brought back to life, right? Or
Yeah.
came back to life.
The resurrection
Or,
of
you know what I'm saying? It's like, I feel like through the lens of like, well, they're just doing ET, you know? And it's like, I feel like I don't envy being painted into a corner of like, well, if we put the stakes to a certain level, then you're going to turn off a lot of audiences, or they're just going to compare this to this other previous film, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So that being said, if you do take it from that perspective of like, well, I wanted more out of this versus like just a good time, you can criticize it that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Me, on the other hand, like, I was all in. Like,
Yeah.
and I we've had plenty of discussions, and I'm sure plenty of people are familiar with. I like things that make you like really think, and like, there's not as much satisfaction because you're just, it's all this like wrenching of your hands of like what is happening, and and
Mhm.
then you're not getting the satisfaction of a happy ending, or
Right. Right. Yeah. You like the psychological
right.
dramas.
But I think what this movie did for me was this movie was the magic of the movies.
Hmm.
And I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
it captured so many things, because especially because of the style in which they made it, with using a lot of practical effects, with using a real puppet to play
Mhm.
the character, albeit many different iterations that they had to use. I watched a little behind the scenes thing today about it, and man, it's wild.
Yeah.
But I believe it gave it more of a visceral effect, because Gosling does an incredible job in this movie. Gosling does a Tom Hanks in Castaway, like, when you're sitting there acting with an inanimate object, or an object that's being moved by wires or whatever. It's like,
Yeah.
it's different, but this felt like he was acting with a real character. He wasn't acting with a tennis ball on a stick against a green screen.
Yeah. Right.
It was
Right.
very like tangible, which is why what was so great is that they built all these sets. The little ball that Rocky rolls around in was real. You
Hmm.
know, the
Yeah.
puppeteer was the one that was doing the voice as he's rolling the ball around. You know,
Right. Right.
um, so that's some of the stuff that like really sold it for me. That if it was like a
Mhm.
CGI slop mess, I feel like I wouldn't like it as much. Let me also say that I know that you're not saying that you did not like the film. I just got way more out
Right.
of it.
Right.
You know,
Yeah. Yeah, now remind our
Yeah,
listeners.
yeah.
I liked the movie.
Right.
Yeah.
But did you feel any more or less invested in the characters because of, the negative that you.
One thing, and I think this is similar plane to what you're talking about. One thing I really enjoyed about it was the visuals, especially seeing it in a theater, like the space part of it.
Mhm.
Like it felt like we were in space, you know? And so I dug that. Like I was there on the ship and we were in some other galaxy.
Okay.
And that was cool. And so that's a part that I give big ups to. Uh, and I'm not sure exactly where I land with Rocky. I think overall like they were successful with making Rocky real.
Mhm.
Um, and I mean they really had their work cut out for them. I feel like it's hard to make like aliens really be like tangible, like to feel like this could actually be a real alien.
Right.
So I think they did well with that. I was thinking a lot of Arrival on while I was watching this
Yeah, yeah.
because there is that aspect of first contact and trying to communicate with each other and figuring out each other's language and stuff. And they had to like fast track that in this film
Yeah, yeah.
because you would sacrifice a lot of exposition if you didn't do that. But yeah, I totally enjoyed that part of it. And I think that again, like what holds me back is not any one aspect of it. It's just like how it is trying to do multiple things so much. And how like it held back the feeling part of it for me. Like, and that's what would have really given it a few extra stars in my book is like if it gave me the feels a little bit.
So I'm curious, did Ryland Grace, Gosling's
Mm.
character, did him not having any real attachment, no one to do this for, because what they reveal later in the movie is
Yeah,
that
right.
he didn't have a choice to do this
Right.
mission.
Yeah, yeah.
Did and he basically, so he didn't want to do the mission
Hmm.
basically because it was like, whether he was scared or whatever. But like, do you feel like it took away from, whether it's from the story or whether your actual investment in the character and story, because he was doing it simply because he was forced to, and that he wasn't actually like, I need to do this so I can save, because
Yeah.
a lot of the parallels to like Interstellar, like, Matthew McConaughey goes and does this mission, but he's thinking about his kids.
Right. Right.
It's more about his kids versus like, I've got to save humanity. Now he's doing it for that too, but you have the huge
Yeah.
emotional play. So
Yeah.
does
Yeah.
that
The
make
like
it
character development in this is Grace like learning to care for anything
right?
as opposed to like how does he like leverage the things that he does care about with his mission or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
Um, I'm glad you asked this question because it allows me to talk about something I want to talk about. And I think that like there's the structure that they made this movie with involves a lot of flashbacks. So like we
Yeah.
start the movie with Grace waking up on the spaceship. And so that's kind of in the middle of the story that we actually get.
Right. Right.
And I heard this thing. I'm going to take us off track for just a moment, but I'm going to bring us
Sure.
back. Uh, that like these days, it's so much more. We so much more frequently see movies and shows that start us like in the middle of the story because people have such a hard time attention span wise
Yeah. That you.
letting a story unfold. So we have to start in like some action, and then we're going to give you the backstory later. So we can't do this chronologically because people's attention spans won't allow for that. And
Yeah.
that stuck with me. And I thought about that a lot with this storytelling the structure that Project Hail Mary has, and how I realized that one way that that benefits the movie is you don't you actually have more characters throughout the movie that way if you're continually flashing back. Otherwise, you're kind of stuck for like half of the movie with just two characters.
Right.
And
Right.
that's harder to pull off. So in some ways it kind of needs to do that. But also like what it does is like we don't really know Grace until well into the movie. And I think for me, like that hurt some of those stakes because it's like I haven't grown attached to this guy at all. Like he's entertaining and everything, but I don't know that he was this sort of like failed scientist who became a teacher and and then got tagged to like save the world, but then like bailed on that and was trying to get away and got forced into it. And I wondered what it would be like if we just got it chronologically.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I can see the ways that that might have also failed because of the way the story is.
Yeah.
But but I think that like one way that decision like hurt things is we don't know about Grace that much until we get like 2/3 into the movie. Or we don't know the whole story at least. We just
Right.
get little like breadcrumbs.
Yeah. So, and I think that's one of the curious things, especially when you know that, like, you don't find out until halfway into the movie that he didn't want to go, right? I feel like
Right.
it's a totally different movie if they tell you that at the beginning.
Yeah. And it's kind of weird to see. I can see, now like thinking about those early moments in the movie where he's like confused in the spaceship and he finds the other crew members dead and he's like freaked out and it's like this is kind of, this is like amusing, but like what? Come on, dude. Um, and you don't really learn why until
Till later, yeah,
way
yeah,
into the movie.
yeah. And they a detail about that was left out of the movie that was in the book was in the book. So Sandra Hüller plays Ava Stratt, and so she tells him in the book that you have to do this because you're the brain that we need doing this, but also there's only like 1 in 7,000 people that can survive the coma that we have to put you into.
I remember hearing this.
And so like and so they never explain that. So that's one of the things that I was like, okay, well, like he wakes up and these other people there are dead and they never explain why.
Yeah.
So like that was one thing where I was like, I wish they would at least like, given some sort of detail, um, because they never really address it.
Yeah.
And now granted, I don't necessarily think it hurts the overall movie, but it was definitely it's one of those where it's like I shouldn't be thinking about that. Like I feel like that should
Right.
be a detail that should be covered.
Right. Right.
Kind of like the language where it's like, him and Rocky learning how to speak, where it's like they basically jump light years from not being able to communicate at all to having a fully developed language,
Yeah. Yeah. With no hitches, they're totally.
Right.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and suspension of disbelief and kind of breaking it down to the most simplest of terms. And,
Yeah. I don't need that in this movie, but
right.
yeah.
Right. Which I think the movie, I think one of the strongest things that it leans into is the humanity of it all, that like Rylan and Rocky, there's so much personality, and I feel like you watch Rylan Grace grow as a person throughout the movie, and I think that's where the stakes. I think it takes you in a different direction where it's like, we're trying to save the planet and I got to do this because my wife is back home with my kids, or,
Mhm.
we got to save millions of people. And it's like in this, we have a guy that didn't really want to go, doesn't really have attachments, and you don't really know, like, has he run from attachment? Is it because of his failures as a scientist? And so you have this like shifting from the macro into the micro where Grace is like learning how to love as the
Mhm.
movie goes on.
Yeah, and have some sort of attachment even.
And I think that is, I think, in a weird twist, we're going into the depths of space to try to save humanity when it seems like humanity's losing itself. So like this is Project Hail Mary is not just about saving us from imminent demise, but also like maybe we're going out to the depths in order to save our humanity.
Mhm.
And that
Yeah.
this movie kind of takes a different approach of like we need like breaking it down to the smallest level of like appreciating life no matter what it looks like and what language it speaks, and that we need to get back in touch with humanity. And I think that's part of what it's saying.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, totally. And I mean that's like a beautiful message. But I think it requires like a big suspension of disbelief too, because you to in order to save the world and have this guy like realize what life is about, you got to send a dude that doesn't want to go against his will. And that's what you're going to bet like all of this on. It if you start to think about it too much, then it seems pretty unrealistic. But then again, like a movie about spaceships that go to other universes
Right.
or other galaxies, like of course it's unrealistic,
But is it,
but
but it
that's
might, but
where
it,
I feel like, it's where it makes it an entertaining movie as opposed to like
gotcha.
one.
Well, I mean, and again, it's like, okay, we need your brain. We need you're the scientist that can actually do this. Um, it is a Hail Mary.
Mhm.
It's another Hail Mary. Like you know, I think I do think that there is a question that it raises is like, we're trusting humanity in the hands of a scientist, right? But it's like, who should we trust to save humanity? Who should we trust to save humans, right?
Yeah.
And perhaps it's saying that like not only is he the one capable of doing the science, but he's the one that will be doing it for a reason that's not clouded, that will cloud his judgment.
Maybe. It seems a big like a big bet when you've got 7 billion people to choose from and that's your guy. But I also, and that's again, that's why I think this makes sense as an entertaining movie, because like it doesn't have to be realistic. Like no way would that be the guy that would be picked in real life. When you watch the astronauts who went around the moon, like all of those people, they had the smarts of Gosling's character,
Mm-hmm.
and they actually had the like wherewithal to do it and to risk the danger and all of that. And surely there are other people out there like that. But I think it makes a better story.
Well, yeah, I mean that's why Project Hail Mary is going to make $1 billion, and First Man that Gosling was
Exactly.
in is
Yeah.
is is like, oh, that's a good movie. Like it was really really well done.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
And that one got 3.5 from me.
And I mean, First Man was good, but like again, if you're talking about a movie, and that's where I think it's also the definition of what makes a great movie. It's a nuanced discussion. Obviously, we wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't. But I mean, if something takes you out of the movie, it takes you out of the movie. Like it,
Well, yeah, yeah.
you know.
And it all sort of depends on like what you want out of a space movie like this. I was thinking like for a movie that you want to appeal broadly to everyone, for there to be a little something for everybody there, you get Ryan Gosling to be your lead. I was thinking about the movie High Life, and it's
Oh
like
yeah, yeah,
you for that movie you get Robert Pattinson,
yeah.
and it's going to be a much like slower movie. It's gonna have some confusing parts in it that you're not totally sure like what is this getting at, and it's gonna scratch it's like some darker themes.
Now, that's funny bringing up other titles because I totally see where you're coming from, and it leads me into something that I've been thinking about a lot, especially with yesterday being your birthday,
Hmm.
and May the 4th, and a whole lot of Star Wars discussions going on right now,
Oh yeah, okay.
and I was just listening to a podcast talking about their the rankings of Star Wars um, titles, meaning shows and movies, right?
All of it, yeah.
And how, I mean, honestly, I feel like this was at the very core of it. I think Project Hail Mary is for the people that believe in the magic of Star Wars, and First Man, or like even kind of in between Interstellar, is
Yeah,
leaning in towards the, well, no, I want to see the Andor story.
mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Um,
I think I get what you're saying.
I don't know if you've ever watched Andor, but this is talking about the backstory of how they came to get the designs for the Death Star. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I saw the first season of Andor.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So my point being is that this movie leaned into wanting you to be bouncing in your seat and leaving feeling good about life and about humanity, and and on a different level about what going to the movies is about and what it has been for decades. you
Yeah,
know
yeah.
I mean, I watched Surat a couple nights ago laying on the couch. I could have seen it in the theater. I'm glad I watched it at home,
Hmm.
you know and it was something to chew on even more so, where Project Hail Mary is like, man, I can't wait to see it again on the big screen because it is a magical movie. It is, in a lot of ways. um
Yeah.
and where I feel like, they did, Lord Miller did The Martian, and I feel like Project Hail Mary is a far superior movie.
Yeah, yeah.
But I feel like you might like, I don't know what you gave The Martian on Letterboxd. What
Are you
do
looking for it?
you have it pulled up in front of you?
I don't. I know what I gave it though.
What'd you give The Martian?
I gave it 3 stars.
You gave it 3 stars. Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I,
Huh.
I felt very similarly to these two. Like
Oh
it was
wow.
an entertaining movie, it was fun.
Okay. All right.
When you think about space movies and you think about particularly about 70s space movies, like the two sort of defining movies are Star Wars and 2001, right? But like these very two different types of space movies, one's like, real art house and thoughtful and thinks about mortality and humanity, blah, blah, blah. And the other is like an adventure and uh relies a lot on special effects and those sort of things. And I think those are the two like high heights. And honestly, like I prefer Star Wars to 2001. But I think you've got like varying levels of those different types of movies. And I'd put like I mentioned, High Life, Ad Astra, that movie with Brad Pitt in it and Tommy Lee Jones. Those are more like your sort of 2001 movies that are getting like into like deep thought sort of stuff, and there's not as much adventure. It's a lot more about like the loneliness of space and everything. And I think that like Project Hail Mary leans more into like the sort of Star Wars area of it because it is like the entertainment of it, the
Hmm.
excitement of it.
Yeah.
Um, but it does like give some of that consideration, like some of that like the how big an empty space is and stuff too. So I think those are interesting things. But yeah, did you find Close Encounters, or are you
Yes,
still?
1977.
Ah, dang. Okay. All right.
Yeah, and I mean, I won't disagree on that fact that it is, it leans into the popcorn aspect. It's trying to be more Star Wars than it is trying to be, 2001. Um, but I think it accomplishes. I think at times it does accomplish a lot of the middle ground that both have achieved. It's hard to remove what movies have become, especially as marketing like tools, for whether it's an actor. I mean, speaking of Star Wars, Ryan Gosling is going to be
Yeah.
in a Star Wars movie. It's not a
Right.
Jedi's and lightsabers and stuff, but it's in that
Totally.
vein. So it's like it's this is a vehicle that will propel him once again forward, into another movie that's trying to sell tickets and
Hmm.
get people into the theater. So it's like, is the intention there to make the best movie or the best movie that will get people buying tickets? You know,
Hmm.
um,
Yeah.
so you wonder if this movie was made in a world where movies were still doing what they were doing in the theaters 20 years ago, would it be the same movie?
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Would it lean more into the abstract versus like, well, we know that this will put people in the seats and they're gonna tell people and they're gonna want to see it, and you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, would it lean more into like being more art house?
I don't think so. I don't think that was ever the intention of this movie. I do think because of streaming, it made some choices that it might not have made 20 years ago. But I don't think those are big. I don't think it would be that different.
Okay.
The main difference would be like there would be several other movies like it that would probably not be as good
Right.
because you just had a lot more studio movies coming out. But if it's going to help keep my local one screen movie theater open in Tillamook, then more
Yeah. Yeah.
power. I want more movies like that to happen, you know?
Right. Right.
Yeah. Dude, can I talk to you for a minute about Sandra Hüller?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I think that she is like punching way above this movie's weight class.
Okay.
Like she and I mean I just think she's doing some things that like no one else is doing in this movie and operating on kind of a level like that. Have you seen her in anything before?
It was not anything I could place.
Yeah. She's been in a lot of movies that have been sort of like foreign film critical darlings. She was in Tony Erdmann. She was in The Zone of Interest, and she was in Anatomy of a Fall.
Yeah, I still
So
haven't seen.
I bet you've heard of all of those movies.
Yeah,
Or
yeah. Especially Anatomy of a Fall. I keep I've many times pulled it up and almost started it, and then I didn't. And now I'm
yeah,
remembering what Zone of Interest was about, and that was one where I
yeah,
was like, yeah,
yeah.
no.
Yeah. Well, they're all foreign films, so you're going to have to deal with subtitles on those. and they are generally some pretty heavy subject matter. Tony Erdmann is a little less heavy subject matter, but yeah, but she's great. I think it's really cool that she got some like mainstream Hollywood exposure because
Yeah, yeah.
she's an awesome actress. And this there's a scene in this movie where she sings some karaoke. She sings "Sign of the Times," the Harry Styles song, and it's like kind of this linchpin sort of moment, right? Did you get the feels during that scene?
Yeah, I definitely did, and that's where I also feel like there's this connection that Ryan Gosling at that point can start to make. I think that makes it more nuanced, and I agree that she is actually pulling him up, trying to pull him up to her level.
Hmm. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, yeah, totally. I did some so I was watching some of the scenes from this and I'm gonna give you some info from a YouTube comment. So this is some deep like research here. But but I went and double checked some of this and I think this is mostly true at least. But there wasn't she wasn't singing that in the original script. And Gosling heard her singing like on set and asked her if she wanted to be included in like a scene. And so they started talking about this. Hewler agreed to sing, but she insisted that she gets to choose the song.
Oh wow.
So she chose "Sign of the Times." It says in the YouTube comment that this was a song her and her daughter sing a lot. I didn't get any verification on that, but I saw in an interview she was saying she checked with her daughter to be like, "Is this cool or am I like too old and lame for that?" Um, so, and they were doing all of this shooting on an aircraft carrier, and they had limited time, so they had to kind of rush through this scene. So she only did like two takes, and none of the rest of the cast knew she was going to do it. So
Oh
she just
wow.
rolls in, and so you're the like expressions you're seeing on people's faces are like genuine
Yeah,
like
yeah.
reaction
That's
to
awesome.
like, oh crap, she's like actually singing this.
Right.
Um, so yeah, but if you but there's like this isn't without precedent because in one of the movies I mentioned earlier, Tony Erdmann, there's also a scene like this. Sorry if you haven't seen Tony Erdmann, I'm gonna spoil the scene, but
Mm-mm-mm.
there's a scene where she sings "The Greatest Love," the Whitney Houston song, and it's
Okay.
incredible.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's worth checking out Tony Erdmann just to see her sing that.
Okay.
But yeah, she's got I hope she has a long future ahead of her. She's pretty awesome in everything I've seen her in. And I think her character is just like super intriguing. Um, she like kind of introduces herself from the beginning to be like this no nonsense scientist who can put Gosling's character in his place.
Right, right.
But then just every now and then she'll show these little tinges of humanity. But she's I mean, there's just so much beneath the surface that we don't ever get to really know. But there's enough there that she's a super intriguing character to me.
Yeah, I wondered where they were going to go with her. Like, was there going to be some sort of like, romantic involvement
Yeah, I wondered
or,
that too.
um, and then also it's like you wonder, like this powerful woman that's trying to make this happen no matter what. I mean, she's the one putting faith in the one guy that,
Hmm.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So it's like, there is a like, it's a like, well, why do you believe so much in this? And
yeah.
I think also I think if they had put in the movie like what we discussed earlier about the um the biological test that they give that like he can survive the coma, he
Hmm.
has a better chance of surviving the coma. I think that literally is one of those details that when you know that they didn't put that in the movie,
Yeah, you're like, why did they leave that out? Yeah.
because it's like such a vital thing, but I think it also changes the entire dynamic. Like,
It does, yeah, because she has in if you just take what the movie gives you, she has more faith in him than he has in himself.
right, right.
And she is certain he's the guy. To the point that she's going to drug him and throw him on that ship in a
Right.
coma,
Yeah.
so that he can save the world. And that's that is a high level of confidence and courage and all sorts of things.
Yeah, and I mean, do you feel like her intentions, like I know she wants to try to save humanity. I'm just like, because of the fact that we touched on Grace not having anyone that he's doing this for. So like her on the other hand, what are her motivations? It's like
Right.
I've been tasked with a job to find the right person to be able to do this or the right people to do this, you
Mhm.
know?
I think I heard in another podcast someone was talking about in the book. I think this is in the book. I may be confusing it, but that uh, she has a family at home, or Hewler is quoted in saying, like, as she was envisioning her, she was imagining she's got kids at home. She's just not going to talk about that because that's not
Because
her.
she's very by the book and,
Right.
yeah, yeah,
I mean, I find her character to be super pragmatic,
yes.
to like the nth degree, like more than most humans. Because he will ask her about stuff, and I when I was rewatching a scene, he was like, "Man, this is like so complicated. This must feel so complicated." And she's like, "Actually, it's not." Things seem very clear to her.
You know what's funny is now that we're diving into this, what dynamic I realized that this is very much like. She's Spock and he's Captain Kirk.
Hmm. Yeah, I can see what you mean there. Yeah. Yeah.
Because she's
Yeah.
literally, like Spock says, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few.
Right. Right. It's never it's she you don't see any doubt in her.
Yeah, yeah. And it's like, Kirk is the one that's able to kind of do the things that other people can't, but he's so much more just diving in head first, you
Hmm.
know, versus like looking at the science of everything and breaking things down pragmatically, you know.
Right.
He's
Right.
he's
Going with his gut.
right, right, yeah. So that's interesting. I wonder if that dynamic was something that was discussed, or if it's such as one of those things that like works its way into, you know,
Yeah.
whether it
It's a
was the
good
book,
question.
you know.
Yeah.
Of course, they could be like, no, I don't know what you're talking about,
We didn't think about Star Trek at all. How dare
right?
you? Yeah. Well, Zach, is there anything else you want to touch on? Any other?
Yeah. One other thing would you recommend this movie to people to go out and see it?
Yeah, I think especially I would say watch it in a theater
Hmm.
because that enhances the experience quite a bit. And I do think it's one that, like I said, it has broad appeal. So you can invite whoever to this movie, and I think there's something in there for most people.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, I loved it, and but I can tell you with absolute certainty, I will watch Interstellar another 20 times before I'll watch this 10 times.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I can't say the same. I mean, 2001 is just you know an all-time masterpiece, but it's also
It's homework a little bit.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But yeah, I mean, but again, if we're talking about like the magic of the movies again, it's just like I loved it. It's kind of like my second favorite movie of the year was Bone Temple, the 28 years later Bone Temple movie.
Uh-huh.
And I felt like why I loved it so much was very much a lot of the reasons why I love this is like it maximized the potential of what you could put on the movie screen to to make the most of the medium.
Hmm.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah, yeah. And I do appreciate what those movies are maybe doing for that in the movie theater experience for people. Like
Right,
that
right.
it has enough broad appeal to bring people in. And once they do, more people want to see it. Like I hope for that to happen. And Project Hail Mary won't be in my top 10 of the year
Oh,
probably,
that hurts my
but
heart.
I did but I mean I had fun. So that's cool. Like that's a pleasurable movie experience.
Any I know that there's so much that we could talk about with this movie and like that other people have gone to great lengths discussing.
Yeah, I feel like we
Um,
could talk so much more about like Rocky and Grace and
the effects and the score and just like space
yeah,
opera and like but you know we've also this is it's not the first space opera, it's not the first we got to save the planet, you know, it's not the best, you
yeah,
know.
yeah. It's taken a lot of cues from a lot of other things.
Right, right.
And
I
it's doing
mean,
it well. It's it's skillfully done.
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
um so in the end I highly recommend it. I think that, you know, your recommendation is there too, and I think people would enjoy it. I
Yeah.
do. I do think that getting to see this on the biggest screen available um, will be to the benefit of your experience.
I would recommend that as well. Yeah. I think I'm generally kind of on the low end of what a lot of people rate this. I mean, even the snobbiest critics are generally rating this like 3.5 or 4 stars.
Yeah,
So
and I think that's the tricky area with star ratings is just like it feels like for me it's like if you get down to 3 stars, it's like whoa, you know, there's some really bad movies that I've rated 3 stars. Now
yeah, yeah.
they've got a lot of redeeming factors, and so I still, you know, have probably watched them a lot, you know.
Hmm. Yeah.
Where in reality they're a much worse movie than a 3 star movie. Because I mean,
Yeah.
3 stars is not like it's not an awful movie. It's not at the bottom of the scale. It's not like don't watch that trash, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, 3 stars means I liked it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes it's just a difference in what a star means to somebody.
Yeah, yeah, because I mean, you know, you could give it the same two movies, you know, two different movies, 3 stars, and be like, I'll probably watch that one 100 times, and the other one I'll probably never watch again.
Yeah. I mean,
You
we
know,
could do like our Uber ratings where it's like if you liked it, it gets 5 stars. And if there's anything wrong with it, it gets one star, you know.
exactly the polar extremes.
There's nothing in the middle. So yeah,
Well, discussion has gone a little bit longer than we had planned, but as always, it's a great
alas.
discussion.
Yeah.
Um,
But yeah, Zach, we have not yet determined when we're going to start recording season 3, but we have been putting together our list for it. So keep your ear to the ground. It's coming, and maybe in the meantime, we'll find a few. Summer blockbuster season is coming, and there will probably be some more opportunities for us to do some of these one-off episodes where we stay up with the times and check out what's brand new. I can think of like 3 or 4 names that would be worthy of a conversation. Zach.
yeah, absolutely, and you know, I think that's why it's like it's fun to be able to talk about these current films because there's going to be plenty that like wouldn't warrant a special episode, but that might be something way more to chew on um, than a big popcorn blockbuster movie. You know?
Yeah, yeah. We like to mix it all in.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. It's what
All
friendship
right.
is all
Well,
about.
exactly. Friendship. I'm glad you said it again, Zach. All right. Well, we better let you go. It's getting late on our ends, but hope you enjoyed this episode. And we'll be back before you know it. So let's sign off. See you later. I'm Troy.
And I'm Zach. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Watch a movie.
Yeah.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.
If you have any suggestions or thoughts, you can email us at the letter U, gotta, letter C, thisman@gmail.com. Follow along with our show page on letterboxd.com, as well as our own individual pages. Music for the podcast provided by our good friend, James Hearn. We look forward to having fun, talking with friends,